Let's introduce the concept of the 10 gods. In Chinese metaphysics, there are 10 heavenly stems and 12 earthly branches, categorized into 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Each of these elements is further divided into yin and yang, forming 10 types in total. The relationship between the day master representing oneself and the other 7 stems and branches generates 10 different relationships known as the 10 gods. These 10 gods reflect how external energies influence an individual's life and personality. Understanding these relationships allows us to gain deeper insights into our strengths, challenges, and life paths. These 10 gods are classified into 4 auspicious gods: direct resource, eating god, direct officer, and direct wealth. 4 inauspicious gods: 7 killings, indirect resource, hurting officer, and 2 neutral gods: companion and indirect wealth. As mentioned, today we will mainly discuss direct resource, one of the 4 great auspicious gods, and the best among them, ranked first. What does direct resource represent? When you see direct resource, think of a person who is very intelligent, wise, has a good memory, loves to learn, is kind-hearted, responsible, and experiences fewer illnesses and misfortunes. These are all positive traits, making direct resource the foremost of the 4 great auspicious gods. Its imagery represents a house, documents, education, authority, and an angel in one's mind. People with a strong direct resource are suited for careers as teachers, educators, trainers, artists, publishers, secretaries, nurses, religious figures, image consultants, and chess players, among others. In terms of person, direct resource represents elders, benefactors, teachers, and mentors. In a man's parts, direct resource represents his mother, while in a woman's parts, it represents her grandfather and her son-in-law. The eating god represents fortune and blessings. A person with the eating god in the chart is said to have a blessing that equals the value of both wealth and official positions. What does this mean? One eating god is equivalent to one direct wealth and one direct officer. Generally, a person with the eating god in their chart will be well provided for throughout their life, never lacking in food or clothing. Thus, it is considered a god of fortune. A person with the eating god in their chart typically has good communication skills, enjoys having fun, loves singing, dancing, drinking, and other pleasures, including food, making them food enthusiasts. The eating god represents prosperity and longevity, and such individuals are often broad-minded and generous, with a natural talent for the arts. The eating god is associated with being plump and well-nourished, symbolizing good fortune and free from financial worries. Suitable career choices include entertainment, arts, beauty, fashion design, or the food and hospitality industry. In terms of family relationships, the eating god represents younger generations such as students, subordinates, or disciples. For men, the eating god represents their grandsons, while for women, it represents their daughters. What does the direct officer represent? The direct officer is characterized by being trustworthy, honest, upright, valuing reputation and status, being just and incorruptible, and having a stable personality. It symbolizes an elder brother, leader, or figure of authority representing a respected social status. The proper official is seen as a noble and honorable star due to its gentle and controlled nature of restraint, reflecting the ancient value of governance and public service over wealth accumulation through business. It is suitable for careers in politics, law, detective work, judiciary, and journalism. Direct officer represents family members such as superiors, leaders, or bosses. It also symbolizes a man's daughter and a woman's husband. Direct wealth represents wealth, and it is equivalent to the god of prosperity. Direct wealth represents a personality that is responsible, honest, reliable, down to earth, frugal, family oriented, trustworthy, and devoted to their spouse. Someone truly worthy of trust. This implication represents stable and legitimate income. From this, you can deduce that indirect wealth represents unstable income and income from unconventional sources. People with direct wealth in their destiny are suited for careers such as banking, finance, diplomacy, real estate, groceries, departmental stores, wholesale and retail, pharmaceutical business, and more. Direct wealth represents individuals such as wealthy people and business owners. It also symbolizes a man's wife and a woman's father. Its negative traits include stubbornness, being authoritarian, self-centered, having many friends but few close confidants, being harsh and critical, lacking empathy, preferring isolation, being closed off to outside input, and being overly self-willed. Its positive traits include being consistently strong, valuing loyalty and integrity, being independent and self-reliant, not easily swayed, being sincere and faithful, patient in doing things and striving for success. The imagery of companion. If companion is unfavorable like rob wealth, it will harm your wealth. However, if it is favorable, it signifies cooperation with others and the ability to make money. Having companion means good interpersonal relationships. If you don't have companion, it indicates fewer friends. Career choices, direct sales, mining, athletic, mobile industries, mechanical operations, intermediary. Companion also represents fitness. The people it represents, same gender friends, classmates, partners, and shareholders. For men, it represents brothers, and for women, it represents sisters. Indirect resource in BaZi represents unconventional thinking, intuition, and indirect support of resources. It represents a depressed star. It refers to a state of frustration or unhappiness. People with indirect resource in their chart often experience feelings of dissatisfaction or unhappiness. Their personality in a negative sense tends to be sensitive, with a deep inner loneliness and unhappiness. They may be indecisive, hesitant, and struggle with social interactions. They prefer solitude and would rather be alone than be in crowded places. However, sometimes indirect resource can be favorable. If the person is weak in their chart, indirect resource becomes a useful element. It also has positive traits such as sharp observation, analytical skills, and sensitivity. People with indirect resource can sense others' inner thoughts and have strong comprehension abilities, enabling them to quickly grasp difficult concepts. Additionally, they are often multi-talented and have delicate, thoughtful minds. People with indirect resource have a special talent for learning metaphysics. While anyone can study the I-Ching and the Bagua, those with indirect resource tend to learn it quickly and with great flexibility. After mastering the material, they are able to apply it creatively and think outside the box. People with indirect resource in their chart will often experience unhappiness, and it represents a sense of dissatisfaction or unhappiness. Career choices for those with indirect resource include research, public representation, invention, design, creativity, technology, martial arts, performing arts, marketing, direct sales, advertising, modeling, and other related fields. Figures represented by indirect resource include strategists, advisors, and counselors. It symbolizes a man's grandfather and a woman's mother. So what does the hurting officer represent? It represents a mad god, symbolizing arrogance and overconfidence. The negative traits of the hurting officer include sharp tongue, cynical, arrogant, unruly, narrow-minded, vengeful, unforgiving, willful, domineering, competitive, stubborn, disdainful of others, and unwilling to admit mistakes. On the positive side, the hurting officer represents intelligence, cleverness, a distinctive personality, a tendency to steal the spotlight, eloquence, resilience, boldness, decisiveness, talent, and excessive self-confidence to the point of arrogance. The symbolism of the hurting officer in a male's chart, it often indicates verbal disputes, lawsuits, and conflicts. In a female's chart, aside from verbal disputes and conflicts, it also symbolizes the potential to harm the husband. Since the direct officer represents the husband in the woman's chart, the hurting officer directly conflicts with the direct officer, which is why women with a strong hurting officer may face challenges in their relationships with their husband. Career choices for the hurting officer. People with a strong hurting officer tend to excel in professions related to literature, art, and performance, such as writers, movie stars, singers, dancers, musicians, and painters. This is because those with a strong hurting officer are often multi-talented. Many celebrities, if you examine their bazi, have a strong presence of the hurting officer, which contributes to their talent and versatility. However, on the flip side, many female celebrities in the entertainment industry have troubled marriages and are prone to divorce. This is because the hurting officer benefits their careers, but can negatively affect their relationships, particularly with their husbands. People represented by the hurting officer. Since the hurting officer is produced by me, the individual's element, it represents younger generations, classmates, and subordinates. For men, it represents their grandmother and granddaughter, while for women, it represents their son. Seven killings represents the Sikh god star. Wherever seven killings is located in a chart, you can generally deduce that this area will be prone to illness. Seven killings represents certain negative traits such as being domineering, impulsive, temperamental, willful, stubborn, competitive, combative, vengeful, extreme, rebellious, reckless, and unwilling to listen to advice, making it easy to create enemies. However, seven killings also has positive qualities such as strong execution, a sense of justice, decisiveness, courage in facing challenges, the ability to break through difficult situations, and strong willpower and drive. Its influence represents petty people, enemies, and illness. A suitable career choice for this person would be in a military or combat-related field. What does that mean? In ancient times, it referred to being a general or a soldier. In modern times, it includes professions like joining the military, becoming a police officer, working in the court system, or any job that involves a strong sense of authority or discipline. Earlier, we discussed the direct officer star. It represents an opposite polarity clash, which carries a sense of restraint and subtlety. That's why the direct officer signifies being a leader, the one in charge. In contrast, seven killings is actually considered the indirect officer. Due to its more aggressive and forceful nature, it's referred to as seven killings, and is more suited for the role of a second in command. It represents figures such as soldiers, police officers, judicial officials, those in law enforcement agencies, the man's son and woman's lover. What does indirect wealth represent? It represents the hero god because people with abundant indirect wealth are often like knights, very generous and open-hearted. The negative traits associated with indirect wealth include a disregard for money, poor financial management, being distracted or overcommitted to multiple activities, and indulgence in pleasures such as excessive drinking, lust, or gambling. These individuals might not prioritize the long-term security of their wealth and could fall prey to fleeting desires or reckless behavior. This tendency can lead to financial instability or other detrimental consequences, highlighting the imbalance that may come with an excess of indirect wealth in one's chart. However, their positive traits include being generous and magnanimous, skilled at managing finances, intelligent and resourceful, cheerful and optimistic, kind-hearted and charitable with a wide social network. They are charming, romantic, bold, and generous, easily winning the affection of women. The symbol represents a chivalrous person, embodying unexpected wealth from business ventures such as stocks and lotteries, which all fall within the category of indirect wealth. Career choices are suitable for business enterprises, investment, speculative businesses, financial information, and consultancy. Representative figures include wealthy individuals and businessmen. It also represents a man's father and lover, and a woman's mother-in-law. Rockwell represents the god of deception. People with a strong presence of Rockwell are often seen as deceitful. When Rockwell appears in the heavenly stems, it is called Rockwell, but when it appears in the earthly branches, it is referred to as Yang Ren, a sharp blade. Negative traits of Rockwell include being stubborn, self-contradictory, fond of drinking and gambling, taking advantage of small opportunities, boasting, arguing for the sake of arguing, lacking integrity, speaking nonsense, borrowing money without repaying, and being dishonest without thinking through what they say. His positive traits include a cheerful personality, quick thinking, distinct individuality, strong sense of self-esteem, good communication skills, ability to liven up the atmosphere, creative ideas, and the ability to make a good impression in initial encounters. Rob wealth signifies gambling and financial loss. Since indirect wealth represents one's father, rob wealth can seize wealth, which means it can harm the father and also the wife. This is because rob direct wealth represents the wife. Additionally, rob wealth symbolizes deceit, career choices, freelance work, service industry, direct sales, investment, trade and mobile industries. Represented individuals, all of your opposite gender friends, peers, and classmates are represented by rob wealth. For men, this refers to their sisters, and for women, it refers to their brothers. These are the people associated with rob wealth. Don't miss out. Hit subscribe and share to join us on this incredible journey of discovery. Your support fuels our passion to keep creating. Any questions or need personalized guidance? Leave us a comment or get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being part of the LY5Elements family. If anything is unclear, feel free to drop a comment below. I would love to discuss and explore these topics with you. And for those of you who want to understand your path to chart but find the learning process too complicated, you can always message me for a one-on-one consultation. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Your support truly motivates me to keep sharing this knowledge. See you in the next lesson.